In the digital age, content creators often face the challenge of tailoring their work to meet the strict guidelines of platforms like YouTube while preserving their original vision elsewhere. This balancing act has given rise to a rich vocabulary describing content that is censored, filtered, or watered down for specific platforms, as well as terms for the unedited, authentic versions available on less restrictive platforms. This article explores the nuanced terms for censored content, such as bowdlerized, sanitized, expurgated, censored, redacted, edited, and the platform-specific YouTubeized, and their antonyms which describe uncensored, unfiltered content. We'll unpack these terms, their meanings, and their relevance in the context of modern content creation. Words for censored content. When content is altered to comply with platform standards, remove sensitive material, or appeal to a broader audience, it undergoes a transformation that often dilutes its original impact. Here are key terms that describe this process, particularly in the context of a video modified to meet YouTube's censorship standards, while an uncensored version exists elsewhere. Number 1. Bowdlerized. Derived from Thomas Bowdler, who in the early 19th century published censored versions of Shakespeare's plays to make them family-friendly, Bowdlerized refers to content that has been edited to remove offensive, inappropriate, or controversial elements. This results in a toned-down version suitable for a specific platform, like YouTube, where guidelines restrict explicit language or imagery. For example, a bowdlerized video might cut graphic scenes or bleep profanity to avoid demonetization, while the unedited version is available on platforms like Rumble or Patreon. The term implies a reluctant compromise to meet external standards. Number 2. Sanitized. To sanitize content is to clean it up by removing elements deemed objectionable, often to make it safe for a general audience or to comply with platform policies. A sanitized video might blur violent imagery or omit controversial topics to adhere to YouTube's advertiser-friendly guidelines. The original, unsanitized version, with all its raw intensity, might be hosted on a less restrictive platform, such as a private server or BitChute. This term highlights the dilution of content to fit a cleaner mold. Number 3. Expurgated. Expurgated content has been purged of material considered offensive or inappropriate, often for moral, legal, or cultural reasons. An expurgated video might have explicit dialogue or sensitive themes removed to meet YouTube's community guidelines, resulting in a less impactful version. The unexpurgated original, however, could be found in archives or on alternative platforms, preserving the creator's full intent. Number 4. Censored. A broad term. Censored describes content that has been suppressed or altered to remove elements prohibited by a platform, government, or other authority. On YouTube, this might involve bleeping profanity or cutting scenes flagged by automated systems for violating policies on hate speech or violence. The uncensored version, free from these restrictions, might be available on platforms with fewer content controls, like Odyssey or direct file sharing sites. Number 5. Redacted. Commonly used in legal or governmental contexts, redacted refers to content with specific parts obscured or removed, often to conceal sensitive information. In video content, redaction might involve blurring faces or cutting confidential dialogue to comply with YouTube standards. The unredacted version, containing all original material, could exist on another platform or in private records, such as a creator's unedited files. Number 6. Edited. Edited content has been modified, often selectively, to fit a platform's requirements, tone, or audience expectations. For YouTube, this could mean trimming controversial segments or adjusting language to avoid flagging by algorithms. The unedited version, retaining the creator's original vision, might be available on less regulated platforms or as a director's cut. Number 7. YouTubeized. A colloquial term specific to the YouTube ecosystem. YouTubeized describes a video altered to adhere to YouTube's strict censorship and monetization policies, often reluctantly, to avoid demonetization, age restriction, or removal. For instance, a YouTubeized video might bleep out words and other flagged terms, as identified in studies of YouTube's moderation practices, or blur graphic content to meet advertiser-friendly standards. Creators go through the trouble of making these changes to stay viable on the platform, while hosting the unaltered, regular version on alternative platforms like Rumble, Patreon, or personal websites. This term captures the platform-specific struggle of balancing creative freedom with compliance. Words for uncensored content. The counterparts to these terms describe content that remains untouched, unfiltered, and true to the creator's original intent, often hosted on platforms with fewer restrictions. These antonyms emphasize the authenticity and completeness of the content, free from the compromises made for YouTube or similar platforms. Here are the antonyms for each term, framed as anti-YouTubeized or uncensored alternatives. Number 1, unabridged or unexpurgated, opposite of Bowdlerized. An unabridged or unexpurgated video retains all original content, including elements that might be considered controversial or offensive. For example, a creator might upload a Bowdlerized version to YouTube with cut scenes, but the unabridged version, with every scene intact, could be available on a less restrictive platform. Number 2, raw or unfiltered, opposite of sanitized. Raw or unfiltered content is presented in its original, unpolished form, with no removal of graphic, explicit, or sensitive material. A raw video might include unbleeped profanity or unblurred imagery, hosted on a platform like BitChute, in contrast to the sanitized YouTube version. Number 3, unexpurgated or complete, opposite of expurgated. Hashtag an unexpurgated or complete video includes all original material without omissions for propriety or platform rules. For instance, a documentary expurgated for YouTube might omit sensitive political commentary, but the complete version could be found on a creator's website. Number 4, uncensored or unrestricted, opposite of censored. Uncensored or unrestricted content is free from suppression or alteration, preserving the creator's full expression. An uncensored video might feature explicit language or controversial topics banned on YouTube, but permitted on platforms like Vimeo or direct downloads. Number 5, unredacted or original, opposite of redacted. An unredacted or original video contains all content as initially created, with no parts obscured or removed. For example, a redacted YouTube video might blur faces for privacy, but the unredacted version could be shared on a private server. Number 6, unedited or raw, opposite of edited. Unedited or raw content remains in its initial state with no cuts or modifications to fit platform standards. A creator might upload an edited version to YouTube, but share the unedited director's cut elsewhere. Number 7, uncut, full version, unabridged, unexpurgated, or authentic, opposite of YouTubeized. These terms describe anti-YouTubeized videos that are unfiltered and true to the creator's vision, hosted on platforms without YouTube's stringent guidelines. Uncut emphasizes no scenes or dialogue were removed, as in a full-length film on a creator's site. Full version highlights the complete, uncompromised content. Unabridged and unexpurgated stress the inclusion of all material, regardless of sensitivity. Authentic underscores fidelity to the creator's intent, free from platform-driven changes. For example, a YouTubeized video might bleep profanity to avoid flagging, but the uncut, authentic version could be hosted on Rumble or Patreon. The context of YouTube's censorship. YouTube's community guidelines and monetization policies drive much of the need for terms like YouTubeized. The platform's automated systems and human reviewers flag content for violations, such as explicit language, violence, or terms like those noted in studies, such as certain profanities, which can lead to demonetization, age restriction, or removal. Creators often reluctantly modify their videos, bleeping words, blurring visuals, or cutting scenes to comply, while preserving the original version on platforms like Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, or personal websites. This dichotomy has fueled the evolution of terms to describe both the censored and uncensored states of content. Conclusion: the language of censorship and its opposite reflects the tension between creative freedom and platform constraints. Terms like Bowdlerized, sanitized, expurgated, censored, redacted, edited, and YouTubeized capture the process of altering content to fit specific standards, particularly YouTube's, often at the cost of diluting the creator's vision. They are anonyms: unabridged, unexpurgated, raw, unfiltered, uncensored, unrestricted, unredacted, original, unedited, uncut, full version, and authentic. Celebrate content in its purest form, available on less restrictive platforms. Understanding these terms helps creators and audiences navigate the complex landscape of digital content, where the balance between compliance and authenticity is a constant negotiation. By using these words thoughtfully, creators can communicate the state of their work and direct audiences to platforms where their unfiltered vision thrives, ensuring their message remains intact despite the pressures of censorship.